Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Betterwallet Podcast. As you guys know, the Betterwallet Podcast is all about demystifying the topic of money and sharing powerful money stories from people who truly beat the odds. Today, we got my guy on the line, Andre Haynes, who is a real estate enthusiast, real estate educator. He is known to know everything about the NACA program, which we'll get into, but it stands for Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, and just an all-around, down-to-earth brother. He's the type of dude that you feel like you know from the hoop court growing up, like the basketball court. And, you know, we've known each other, I would say, like a couple years at this point. Just
on social media,
social media, and reconnected at InvestFest over the last couple weeks. And I was like, bro, I have to get you on the podcast. We have to talk about this NACA program and how you are living rent-free. So before we get into any of that, can you tell people a little bit about you, Andre, and like everything that you're all about?
Of course. Again, my name is Andre Haynes. I am from the Ida B. Wells projects on the south side of Chicago. One thing Mark and I do have in common is we were both adopted. I don't come from any financial literacy, a lot of childhood trauma, drugs, all of those kind of things. But since then, I've gone on to, grow a 7-figure real estate portfolio. I've become an author, stock market investor, public speaker, teacher, all of these things, man, just really blessed by God to go out here and kind of like, pave my own way and create my own path at this point.
Love that, man. No, truly, truly blessed, man. I was looking at your bio and it was eerily how similar our backgrounds are, man. So Southside Chicago, I would probably say is worse than North Philly, but North Philly has the same traumas, right? So both mom and my dad, they were addicted to all types of drugs. And when I was born, I was the definition of a crack baby. And all my siblings, they were adopted by our family members. And I was the only one that, as soon as I was born, they're like, you cannot, and he cannot be in the family either. And they took me away and then kind of went through the system. But the fact that we're here today and we're talking about finance and we're helping people with their money, after going through something like that, and like we had all the odds stacked against us. I mean, look at us. Like we're doing it, bro. So
yeah, man. Testimony to how good God is and how, just the power of faith is real and it really works as long as you believe and you understand, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I appreciate you being here and taking time out of your day. But let's get into the icebreaker question that I did not prepare you for, and then we'll get into the questions about your upbringing and then also the NACA program. So the icebreaker question, I never prepare my guests for. So as long as you're ready, we'll get into it. And this actually comes from some research that I did. Okay. I found out that you used to be a rapper.
Yes, sir.
All right. So depending on how you answer this question here, we'll decide on the next action that you'll have to take. All right.
Okay.
So were you really good at rapping?
Yeah, I was dope.
Are you still really good at rapping?
I'm not good like how I was, but I haven't rapped in a very, very, very long time. I'm trying to think, when was the last time I actually wrote a song and like went in the studio to record it? It had to be about 12 years ago, dude.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm not going to put you on the spot then. I was like, all right, give me a few. Do the beat. I'll let you about NACA, right? So, and maybe next podcast episode, I'll have you drop a couple lines. But tell us about your story, bro. So you already let the audience know that you went through the NACA program, you went through adoption and you were adopted by your family, and then you were able to come out of the south side of Chicago, which is a big deal. Like, how did you go from being living in the projects to being a real estate educator?
It's crazy because just the way that you feel like your life is going to be in a straight line, like directly to, whatever the goal is or whatever you're supposed to be. But it never really works like that. It's always like a roller coaster up and down. You know what I mean? You're going to have your ups, you're going to have your downs. You're going to have, 5 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 5 steps back. You know what I mean? But it's all a progression. And if you look at your life on a macro scale as opposed to a micro scale, you can see the progression. But if you're looking at it on a smaller scale, it always feels like, man, I'm always down, etc. But if you look back 5 years ago, you've come a long way. And it's kind of like how my life has been. Of course, I started in the projects. Like I said, parents had the drug issues, the crack epidemic and the drug epidemic swept through the projects crazy in the late 80s and early 90s. Fortunately enough, my family just was really, really strong, and they kept me and my sisters in the family. I moved with one of my aunts who lived in a town called Maywood. And I ended up growing up in Maplewood, which was where I was first introduced to, you know what I mean, just interracial culture, like, you know, white people, Hispanics, because where I was, it was all black people, poor black people. So I just got introduced to a lot there, and that's when I kind of realized I was poor. In the projects, you don't realize you're poor because everybody in the same situation. You know what I'm saying? We all, you know what I'm saying, going to Aldi, we all getting government assistance, we all on Section 8, like everybody in the same circumstances.
Right.
When I moved to the suburbs with my aunt, I met my first white friend, and I used to go to his house, and man, this dude had all the newest sneakers, the video games, every time they came out, everything. And I used to go home, I used to ask for this stuff, and it was like, boy, I could barely feed your ass, let alone go out and, you know what I'm saying, spend all this excess money on stuff that's essentially just entertainment. But that's when I kind of realized, you know, how poor we were. And that's kind of like when my life of just question asking, you know, sadness, victimizing myself, all of those things started to come into play. Like, man, why am I not with my parents? You know, why is this going on in my life? Why is this happening to me? Just really playing a victim role. And over time, you know, I began to get out those frustrations through sports, and I would write down, you know what I mean, just, you know, my ideas and just be creative through rap. So I started rapping maybe like at 9-10 years old. And at that age, you know, it was okay. You know, you saying a bunch of BS that just don't really make sense, but you know, you just want to do this. So in your mind, it sounds cool at school, freestyling with my friends and different things. And as I got older, I got better. One of my buddies ended up becoming a music producer, and he made beats for me, and his name is Cosign. And Cosign actually went on to work with Rihanna, Justin Bieber, Nicki Minaj, John Legend, Kanye West. I mean, you name him, Cosign has sold 50 million records worldwide, you know what I mean? And multiple platinum, just all of these things. But for whatever reason, it did not work out for me. I would have meeting with labels. I'm opening up for, and when I'm talking about these artists were the hottest thing going at the time. Fat Joe, Young Jock, like, you know what I mean? These is guys who I'm performing with, I'm meeting with these people, labels. It just never worked out, Mark, for whatever the reason. And mind you, and in this time frame, you know what I mean, when I get to high school with two All-American basketball players who went to the NBA, D Brown and Shannon Brown, you know, and I had NBA money behind me, NBA names, all this, and bro, it never worked out for me. God was like, nah, nigga, this ain't really your move, like, you know what I mean? But I'm exposed to all of this different stuff, though, mind you. Like I say, Shannon played with Kobe and LeBron. He was drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. He ended up winning 2 championships with Kobe. D was one of the national college basketball players of the year on Sports Illustrated, popping his jersey, almost went perfect record the year that they went to the championship game. Just exposed to a lot of dope ass shit, Mark. Like I say, it was never really put into my life. For me, it was just almost kind of dangled over my head. And I just never understood why things never worked out for me. I'm watching my friends go get amazing amounts of success, like at this young age. We're 21, 22 years old. And I never operated from a space of hate or envy, just more like, God, when is it going to be my turn? Like, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, bro, after a while, I really had to just step away from everything and go get me a job, because I was behind on all my bills, bro. Child support, eviction notices on my door, everything. And it was just a realization had come in, all right, dude, you grown as hell. You really living, through other people and other men, which ain't cool at this grown ass man age. You're 24, 25 years old. And you don't realize it because your friends, they're your friends. They trying to help you. They trying to do whatever they can to make sure you good or whatever the case is. But they're also enabling you and crippling you as well by doing this. You know what I'm saying? And after a while, I had to have a real conversation with myself and a real sit down with myself and, reevaluate some things, have a self-evaluation moment. Like, dude, you really not where you supposed to be. You really not doing the things you supposed to do. You out here making it seem like you got all this shit going on with the rapping. You around these high-end, you know what I'm saying, ball players and different things like that. The whole time, you don't got your shit together. You really out here fucked up. You damn bad. You know what I'm saying? And nobody knows this but you and a couple of people that's around you. But you really got to make a change. And after a while, bro, it just took a lot in me. I went and got me a job again at this telemarketing company that just wasn't what I, aspired to do or a place I aspired to be. But it got the ball rolling for me as far as catching up on my bills, different things like that. I actually had to step away from music, which was hard. People were used to seeing me, like I say, with my NBA homies, seeing me making music videos at the club, doing performances and all of these things. to now I disappear and I just got a regular job now. So to the male ego, dude, that's crushing.
Yeah.
Like that crushed me, you know what I'm saying? To go from here to here, you know what I'm saying? Like, but what I realized was, even though my ego was crushed, my situation started to get better because I was able to start to breathe a little bit now. I could pay my phone bill on my own without me asking for no money. I could go get food. Like I could pay my child support, like different things that I was struggling with doing before. It actually gave me a little bit of headway and a little bit of breathing room because now I have income coming in.
Right.
But again, my mindset wasn't right yet. So I'm still looking at this like I hate this shit, right?
Yeah.
So after a while, I'm sitting in this cubicle, and mind you, Mark, I didn't go get like a good job or nothing. I had a GED level education, so like I wasn't like eligible to go get me no $50,000 a year job or nothing like that. I went and got the bare minimum telemarketing job, where I'm essentially putting people in schools that aren't accredited. They ain't no good. Like I'm talking about Everest University, DeVry University, schools that like don't even probably exist no more at this point. You know what I mean? But I did good because you said what?
Y'all got in trouble not too long ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm putting people in these kind of schools, right? And
we've all worked that kind of job before, man. I was in financial, so one of my first jobs, well, after Vanguard, I was only there for about a year. I was selling really expensive, like non-traded REITs, so really real estate investment trust that frankly just underperformed, and I was pressured to sell them. And till today, like I don't even like to talk about it. I felt like I did wrong by like my morals in a way. Where, but I learned a lot. I mean, I'm sure you learned a lot from that experience, just from having to sell and like having a prospect and whatever.
They get cussed out every day, all day, man. People every name under the sun. Stop calling my fucking phone, you N-word and this and that. I'm like, oh shit. But like I said, it gave me tough skin. It allowed me to become essentially a salesperson and not be scared to take a no, because honestly, I did well at that job. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how many people told me no, I was the top salesperson in the company, which allowed me to get paid overtime, which allowed me to get paid bonuses, which after a while allowed me to save a certain amount of money, and after a while allowed me to qualify for my first property because of that job. But when I first got there, again, my mindset wasn't right. So I had to start to Google and search, like, all right, I didn't want to give up on my dream of being wealthy, but all I knew was sports and entertainment, because that's what we're taught in our neighborhoods. That's what we see in our communities. So I'm like, okay, how do regular, everyday 9-to-5 people get rich? And I kept coming across real estate in the stock market, bro. And after a while, Rich Dad, Poor Dad popped up somewhere in my search. And it was on sale on Amazon for like $4.99. And I just bought it like, what the hell? You ain't got nothing else to lose. They was just talking about it was the best business book of all time and all of these different things. And I kept reading the reviews. And I'm like, all right, let me just get this book real fast, man. It came like a day and a half, 2 days later. And I opened it up the morning that I went to work. And I didn't get any work done that day because like the book just had me just like hypnotized with just like the information and everything that it was saying. And everything that it was saying I was currently dealing with at my job. And I'm just like, yo, this is talking directly to me right now. And mind you, bro, like I'm at a job where they like monitor your calls and shit like that. So I'm ignoring people on the phone. Like I'm hanging up on people because I'm trying to get back to this book. And by the end of the day, I had finished the book, bro. And I'm like, yep, I'm about to like go crazy. Like this book just gave me the blueprint on how to change my life. And the first thing was changing the way that I think. And once I started thinking about my job as my first investor, as opposed to I hate this shit and I don't like coming here and I hate the environment here. Oh, baby, I was in there 50, 60 hours a week. Every fucking piece of overtime they had, any bonuses, I was hitting them. I was saving every dollar that I had. Mark, stop buying Jordan, start eating noodles every day. Like, just start doing all of the things that I need to do that were going to, like, help me grow fast in the short term, but also give me long-term greatness. Man, bro, I did that shit. And in about a year and a half, I realized, like, yo, you got $10,000 saved up, bro. You got work history, you got tax history, like you can go get you a property, because I have been reading and studying all of these different things on how to do these things. And I called a mentor of mine, a big sister of mine, a really good friend, somebody who I met through one of my NBA homies. And I'm like, Kioki, I'm ready to buy a house. And she was like, man, that's cool, but you should really consider getting you a multi-unit. And you should consider getting you a multi-unit through this program called NACA, Neighborhood Assistance Corporations of America. And she broke down the benefits of the program, bro. And it's just like, It's been up ever since. Yeah.
Couple of comments, man. Like you dropped a bunch of game right there, a lot of knowledge, and I want to bring people back to a couple of points that you made that I think are extremely important. Number one is the importance of being real with yourself. If not, you could go down the wrong path and be in the path where you don't want to be, right? So you talked about, hey, like I had to reset with myself and say, okay, well, I can continue to hang out with these basketball players and live this lifestyle, but like, am I happy? Am I doing what I need to be doing in order to reach my specific goals? If that answer is no, then you have to be real with yourself. And I think a lot of people who are rich and successful right now, they had to have that moment. And for some of the listeners, it might be your time to be real with yourself, where you might be living a life that you feel like you shouldn't be living, or you're just unhappy. I know, Andre, you talk a lot about the importance of being happy versus having money. Like that's a big, big difference. Like a lot of people believe that money leads to happiness, but like I believe happiness is truly a choice. Money helps, don't get wrong, but like there's a lot of rich, unhappy motherfuckers out there.
A lot of them.
If you are that person, you need to be real with yourself and figure out, okay, who am I? What am I doing? And what can bring happiness in the future? And what's going to help me reach my goals? So that's number one. Number two, it's crazy how after that, keeping it real with yourself moment, people end up finding Rich Dad Poor Dad. I kind of wonder if Robert Kiyosaki, I wonder if he has like ads set up when you're like Googling like, bro, what am I doing with my life? And like an ad pops up for Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like,
yeah, bro, like, cause it came up in my search and it was just like, what the hell? Like in that book, for whatever reason, it stood out and it was what I needed to help me kind of like get my shit together, bro. Like it was the first thing that I read that really helped me like get it together. Then, like I say, Money Master the Game, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Think and Grow Rich. That's when all of this other stuff started rolling in. But Rich Dad Poor Dad, that was the one.
Same one for me, man. Like I read through it in like a couple of days. I just couldn't put the book down. I think I actually took a day off of work just to read. I was just so locked in on the concept. Well, actually, I'm not going to spill the beans. You guys need to read the damn book. So if you're listening to this episode, you need to go to Amazon right now, buy Rich Dad Poor Dad, read the book, thank us later. But that
facts. Big facts.
Your life. And it's not, just me and Andre saying this. Most people that I talk to that are like, hey, like I changed my life and now I'm focused on finance. They mentioned that book. They mentioned a few others that Andre just mentioned. Just read the book and you'll be very happy. I don't care what you think about Robert Kiyosaki. I know a lot of people are just like, I don't mess with him anymore because
information is information, man. It don't matter.
You have to give people their flowers for what they have done. And he completely changed my life, Andre's life. Read the book, have your thoughts on that person, whatever, but get the information. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. So you were saying that you were talking to your homegirl said, hey, like here's this NACA program. And you were like, yo, this is like what I've been looking for. So kind of walk us through like what you had to do to apply. Was it difficult? What are some of the pros and cons of the NACA program?
Of course. Initially, I'm like, this is not real. Like because of the benefits she told me about, like no down payment, no closing costs, no agent or attorney fees. You're offered the lowest interest rate in the country, regardless of what your credit score is, with the option to buy it down lower, and you don't have to use your money to do it. You can get what's called a seller's concession to buy the interest rate down lower, which is what I did both times that I went through the NACA program. And it starts off with you going to like a 3 or 4 hour meeting, whether it be in person or virtually. They pretty much break down the entire program, everything about the program. Of course, they don't break it down like how I break it down. They break it down in a very, very like corporate kind of like professional way. But they give you a shitload of details on the program. And then from there, you would say, all right, I'm ready to speak with the mortgage counselor immediately. Or you can go up to about 2 years out so you can give yourself time to prepare and get ready for the meeting with your mortgage counselor. And that meeting with your mortgage counselor, that's when pretty much all of the, heavy work starts, whether it be your background check, your bank statements, tax history, work history, like all of these different things. That's when the thorough due diligence starts with them trying to qualify you for the loan. And once you go through all of that, once you get approved, you get your approval letter. You go out and you start searching for your property. You get your property under contract. Of course, you go through your inspection, appraisal, all of that kind of stuff. And then you get your approval letter to close. and you go and close on your property. Now, all of these things and the time it takes to do all of these things is all circumstantial. It depends on your circumstances. I can't be like, okay, well, it's 3 months, it's 6 months, it's a year. The first time I did it, it took me 6 months from start to finish. The next time I did it, it took me a year. And it depends on like what's going on in the market, all of those kind of things. You know, sometimes you're out looking for properties and you can't get a deal. You're being bought out by cash buyers, people who are putting 20, 25% down. You have a lot of competition in the market. So everything won't go as you probably think it should or as fast as it should. And that's just not with NACA. That's just with any loan. It don't always go the way that you think it should. And a lot of times people tend to point the finger and blame. But for me, what I realized was everything that slowed me down was my own fault. And the other stuff that slowed me down was nobody's fault. It was just the game. Like I said, you're searching, you're trying to buy property, and everything don't always work out. Just because you get a contract on a property don't mean you're going to end up buying the property. Sometimes properties don't appraise out. Sometimes sides can't agree on terms, and it just ends up making a deal null and void. Like, there are a lot of moving parts to real estate that people don't know about. And I realize most times when people are going through NACA, FHA, etc., you don't really know shit about real estate because this is your first time doing anything when it comes to real estate. And most times people just go out and get a loan. They don't educate themselves in real estate. They just know how much money they're qualified for. So it can get frustrating because you don't know how this process goes. It's emotional if you make it emotional, because buying a home is pretty much the biggest decision that you'll ever make in your life, because it's the biggest amount of money that you'll ever spend on anything in your life, and you're stuck with it once you get it. So people are very, very emotional unless they're taught to not be emotional, understand this is a business, and the numbers make sense more than how you actually feel. It don't matter if you think this is the most beautiful, best property in the world. Leave it the fuck alone if the numbers don't make sense. Right. I don't care how you feel about it. You know what I'm saying?
People get so lost in just the home and just wanting to be done and whatever, and they just jump into something that a lot of times they can't even afford, or they shouldn't be able to afford. Then, I was reading the stat the other day that 70% of people believe that they're house poor. And it's because like they get into these properties that here's a challenge. A lot of people don't know that they can't afford it. So they don't know how much money they are actually bringing in. They don't know how much money they're spending. They don't have a budget. They don't have a real budget. Like, so all these things that we talk about on the platform don't have that. Then they go and they say, okay, well, I'm going to buy a house because society tells me I need to do so. Buy too much house, and then they're drowning. So I'm happy you bring that up, man. I think that's extremely important and something that people need to think about as you're going through the home buying process. If you're buying now or you're going to buy later, I'm going through the process of getting a pre-approval, and even that part of things is like emotional because they're asking me questions and like need more documentation and
they always need more documentation. Like, I gave you that already.
Yeah, I'm like,
don't matter, we need it.
Look at my numbers. Look at them. Why the hell do you need more documentation? Like we're like, it's good. Like, and for someone who's self-employed, they want to see more and more and more, which again, to your point, like I respect what they want, but it gets annoying because you're so amped up, and I need to, I'm trying to get to the point where I take the emotions out of it for the most part and just try to, separate it too. So that's really important. For anyone who's listening, who's like, hey, like, I think I might qualify for the NACA program. I know there's a lot of different variables, but could you give us a range on like what the income level truly or typically is for someone to qualify for NACA?
You can pay rent. You can pay mortgage, man. That's their theme. Like, I was making $26,000 a year after taxes, and I qualified for a 4-unit property in a nice neighborhood. I didn't buy no in the hood or nowhere where, like, you know what I mean? It's just a food desert and it's bad schools. Like, I bought where there are good schools. I got Walmart, grocery stores, buses and trains all across the street from me. And then, like, in the second neighborhood, I think I bought in one of the top 3 neighborhoods in the city. It's just, bro, like, there is no real limit on it. Now, if you make too much money, what NACA does is they will make you a non-priority member, and a non-priority member still gets offered the lowest interest rate in the country, just not as low as a priority member. And you still get to take advantage of all the other benefits. And also, a non-priority member does not have the option to buy anywhere they want to. So, for example, me making $26,000 a year, I was able to go buy in $1 million neighborhood. So somebody who makes $150,000 a year, $100,000 a year, they wouldn't be able to do that. They would have to go buy in a neighborhood equivalent to or less than theirs. You know what I mean? Because NACA's main goal is to balance out neighborhoods. So if you make $26,000, they'll let you move over here where the income is $150,000, $200,000. But if you make $150,000, they want you to move over here where the income is probably $50,000, $60,000. So there are no more good and bad neighborhoods. There are no more, oh, this is a neighborhood that has low income. This is a neighborhood that has high income. Everything is essentially the same because you have people who make $150,000 over here and $26,000 over here. It's the same thing over here. There is no like uneven balance, you know?
Yeah, I think that's really fascinating. So in case you guys missed it, he mentioned that the goal is to get people that might be lower income to be in the neighborhoods where things are a little bit maybe more expensive. So you're maybe around more affluent people, which I think is key because to what you said earlier on when you were talking about your upbringing and saying, hey, like, you know, I had like a white friend and that was one of the first white friends I had. I mean, the experience of hanging out and being surrounded around people who are, you know, quote unquote, doing better than you, let it be financial or whatever, you get to the point where you start to build this network and you can rely on these people to help you with different things. And like you get new information that you didn't have anymore. And a lot of times when I talk to people, even when I'm growing up, you know, I have a homie that I grew up with, like came up the same way. He ended up going down a different path. I went to college and he wanted to continue to be a drug dealer. And I was like, bro, like you can only do it for so long. And my whole thing to him, you know, when I was growing up was, bro, like you need to change your environment. You have to change your environment. You have to put yourself in a position where you're around other people who are grinding. They have these corporate jobs. And as soon as he did that, this man's going to college. He graduated, became an engineer. Now he has this six-figure job being an engineer, all from being a drug dealer not too long ago. So the importance of being surrounded around people who are, you know, doing better than you economically, or even when it comes to your career, is like life-changing for not only you, but for your entire family. So I think that's incredibly important. And I love the mission of NACA and something I plan on telling more and more people about. So you talked about all the pros of NACA. I like to give both sides of the coin. So what would you say are some of the cons of the NACA program, or like?
Just the level of efficiency they operate at. They're extremely slow a lot of times due to the fact that they're, you know, understaffed and probably underpaid as well. These aren't real estate professionals. These are people off the street who come in, who fill out applications, and they're pretty much just paper pushers. No disrespect, but they're just pushing your paperwork through to the underwriter and to the lender to see if you qualify or not. They don't have any real estate education. They're not licensed agents or mortgage lenders or anything like that. These people are in there strictly doing a job. So a lot of times what you're going to have to understand is you're probably going to know more about real estate than they do, the people who are behind the desk, unless you're dealing with somebody who's been working there for a long period of time, which is rare because NACA has a high turnover rate because people get frustrated. People get, you know what I mean, like just tired of just the process, you know what I mean? Because what you got to understand is it's poor people dealing with poor people most times. You know what I'm saying? The person behind the desk poor, the person in front of the desk poor, and just emotions can flare up when you're dealing with, you know what I mean, stuff like properties and somebody trying to change their life and all of these different things. And neither person has a high level of understanding for what this takes, you know what I mean, to actually make it happen and to be successful. So a lot of times, bro, like you're going to run into mortgage counselors and people who aren't necessarily prioritizing you how you think they should, which it's not their job to. You have to go in and prioritize yourself. You have to go in and make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do, uploading your documents on time, upload your documents correctly, all of these things to get your deal done, because their job is strictly to push stuff through. So if you come through and you miss a week's worth of check stubs or a month's worth of bank statements, and somebody else has their stuff in order, of course they're going to go over here and work with this person first, because that's easier for them to get them processed and push them through and they're ready. So you're going to get put on the back end. So make sure that your documentation is in order. Make sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. That way, if these people aren't doing what they're supposed to do, you actually have a leg to stand on when you go in and complain. You be like, listen, here's my proof. Here's how I uploaded my documents. Here's this, and this. All right, do your fucking job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not on top of your shit, you can't stand on these people and be on these people's head for not being on top of their shit, because nobody's gonna work harder on your deal than what you are. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, that's so important. And that's anything in life, right? You have to be about your business, especially when it comes down to real estate and things that can be a little bit more emotional. I mean, my mom told me at a very young age, I got kicked out of Penn State. I don't really talk about that as much. I should probably have a podcast episode on how I got kicked out. Longer story. The short of it is that I owed Penn State like $900 and they kicked me out, which is crazy. And I will never forget them for that. But got kicked out and I had to figure out a way of getting back into Penn State. I didn't want to go to any other school. I loved the school. I loved the people that I was surrounded around. And I had to learn at 19 the importance of documentation. Like my mom would always say, like, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen. There's always like this he say, she say, whatever, like they're supposed to do this. If there's no email, if there's no written document, if there's no letter, it did not happen. So as you guys are going through the process, more of the audience, like as you guys are going through the process of real estate, you go through a NACA program, even if it comes down to like PSLF, Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or the SAVE program, which is brand new now, make sure you have the documentation. Who did you talk to? When did you talk to them? What did they say? Send an email. Email confirmations are key. Right? That way you can take that information as you're talking to the next person. You can go down, hey, I talked to James on, Tuesday, January 5th, and James said X, Y, and Z, and the next step is whatever. And he agreed, right? And I think that's the way you go about getting things done, and you don't feel as disappointed, especially in a world where, yeah, to your point, it's not their job. It's not their job. They're there from 9 to 5 to do whatever they need to do, and they're going out, they're clocking out, and they don't give a damn about what's going to happen.
And then too, even if you get mad, like it don't matter. They're going to move on to the next client because there's thousands of people that are trying to go through this program. So you just being one person that feels a type of way, like, so what? Like you're not that important.
And two guys that used to be on the phones, we call them on the phones when you're like dialing and just trying to connect with people. When you get mad at us, or like what I used to do, I would put you on mute so quickly and talk all types of crap. Come back on. Hey, what? Do you need anything else? Right? So like it's just
man.
And you have to understand that part of things. Maybe they shouldn't be doing that, but like they don't have the obligation to really care about your situation as much.
Or to take your shit when you get upset or feel a type of way. Like, I don't have to listen to you talk crazy to me or say how you, like, I don't care how you feel. Like, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. So with that being said, we can end the call and just come back when you got your shit in order. Like, a lot of times people don't understand, like, this is how banks and lenders work. Like, they don't give a fuck about your personal situation. They don't care about your kids being sick. Like, they don't care about none of that shit. Like, if you turn in the documents that we ask you to turn in so we can get them to the underwriter and get you approved? Yes or no? If not, why are you calling me acting like I did something wrong to you when you the person that's out here doing wrong to yourself? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, keep it real. No, it's that's really important. I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to get paid the same way, regardless on if your situation happens or not. I mean, the paycheck is still coming through
they're not getting commission off you buying a property. They get an hourly wage. And they get off, like he said, they clock out at 5 o'clock and totally forget about this shit when they go home and gonna start over again tomorrow.
Exactly. They won't even remember your name. No, it's so important. So I know you're using the NACA program now to live rent-free. You said you used NACA twice at this point. So like, briefly walk us through like how you're able to go about doing that.
So the second time around was because I got some great advice from my mortgage counselor the first time, because I used to take my girl at the time with me to all my meetings or whatever the case may be. And he was just like, y'all seem like y'all pretty serious or whatever. She here, you got to earn all your personal business as far as how much money you got saved up, all this kind of stuff. He was like, before y'all get married, he was like, you should bring her back and y'all get another property. So that way y'all can go into y'all marriage with 2 multi-units. And I'm just like, oh shit, that's genius. And we did it. And I just gave her the money to get it done. We got something in an amazing Chicago neighborhood. Like I say, top 3 neighborhoods in the city, because I knew the program a lot better at this point. I knew how to take advantage of the program. I knew just all about sellers concessions, just how I can qualify for a multi-unit with the rents that the property is already generating, not necessarily just my income. All of these different things that I had learned from going through the program my first time with me doing it, I was able to put her in a way better situation. And we went through the program with her. I gave her the money, and once we closed, we just added my name to the deed as a part owner. You know what I mean? Because I can't be on the mortgage already, because I already got a mortgage with NACA. But we just added my name to the deed, and that's been about 4.5 years, and we're about to sell that property for about a $400,000 profit currently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any limitations, like once you are about to sell it, or is like NACA looking for money back, or?
Yeah, so typically they have a 5-year lien on the property for $25,000. Every year that goes by, $5,000 drops off. So we're right at our 5th year, so we're not going to owe anything.
Nice. Okay.
But
No,
they do that to make sure that you're not trying to sneak and use their program to invest, and if you do, that they're going to get whatever their piece is too, since you want to be an investor so bad.
yeah.
Like cut us in because you just got a great deal through using our program. So if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but make sure we get our cut.
I knew there was a way that they were going to get their cut in the back end somehow, because it seems too good to be true. And it's something that is actually true as a government program, and something that you guys should the audience should take advantage of. If you feel like you're in the situation, take a look at it. But for any of the audience members who like, hey, like I want to learn more, it seems like you're able to put it down in layman terms, like where can they find more information about the NACA program and how they can maybe qualify?
Of course, you can go to NACA's website, www.naca.com. I always tell people go there. And then also I host a monthly webinar called Navigating NACA. I announce it probably towards the middle of the month, which gives me about 2 or 3 weeks to promote it. So I tell people, to come join my webinar, because typically NACA is just going to give you the black and white of the program. I give you a little bit more detail. I give you a lot of the stuff that NACA can't tell you, because they're not allowed to pretty much lead you in any particular direction. I teach you how to go through the program, to utilize the program to buy a multi-unit, not just a single family home. The benefits of buying a multi-unit, I break down the effect of the interest rates and how interest rates affect your payment and affordability. Just a lot of different things that I know NACA will not cover, because I've gone through the program multiple times. I've had meetings with NACA, and certain things they just aren't allowed to tell you, but I can. So yeah, if you want to know more, man, come join my webinar. It's every month at the end of the month. Navigate NACA. I usually have you DM me the word NACA or click the link in my bio to join that. And yeah, man, I'm posting content and talking about NACA 24/7 on my page. You can follow me at Renaissance125 across all social media and YouTube too.
Absolutely. Yeah, guys. And what I'll do is I'll make sure that link is in the show notes. If you want to learn more about NACA, tap in with my guy, Andre. He clearly knows all about it. And as I mentioned, I didn't know anything about NACA until I saw him, posting about it. I'm like, oh, I got to learn more. So tap in, learn more about the program, and see how you can maybe live rent-free like Andre does.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for joining this episode of the Betterwallet Podcast. If you guys learned any information at all, please leave a rating and review. I read every last one of them. It brings a tear to my eye anytime I get a review, and words of affirmation is my love language. So please leave a rating and review, and I would greatly appreciate it. Andre, thank you for coming on. Thank you for blessing us with all types of gems. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Betterwallet Podcast.
Appreciate you having me, bro.
Yes, sir.